I believe that your 30s is one of the decades that you have the most potential to grow. However, it can also be the decade in which you can feel a little overwhelmed if you're not ready for it. That's why in today's video, I want to share 30 of the most important lessons that I wish I knew before turning 30. Now, these lessons will be split into 3 different categories. The first are lessons to grow, second are lessons on time and money, and third is going to be on lessons in life in general. So let's get into it. So let's start off with the first 10 lessons, and these are going to be on lessons to grow. And starting off with lesson number 1 is to make time for yourself. Now, in your 30s, things can get pretty hectic, right? You're gonna have your career, your relationships, things that you want to do, and oftentimes it never feels like you have enough time. So you need to make sure that you prioritize making time for yourself, not to rest or not to lay around and do nothing, but time to pursue your goals, right? Think about what you really want, whether in health, relationship, wealth, your career. You need to think about those goals and put time aside so you can do the actions to pursue those goals. And that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is to say no often. Now, in your 30s, there's going to be a lot of obligations you need to meet, right? There's going to be family, friends, you're going to have a lot of hobbies you want to do, a lot of paths to pursue, right? Most often than not, you really need to just focus down your attention to 1 or 2 things. And to do that, oftentimes you have to say no to a lot of other things. Now for me, I say no a lot, right? I say no to going out with friends, I say no to meeting up with family, and oftentimes it's not because I'm trying to be an ass about stuff, it's because I need to make sure I have enough time to pursue my goals, to do the things that I know will push me forward in the game of life. Lesson number 3. Never stop learning. Now, when I was working in the medical field as an occupational therapist, I went through this period of stagnation. And I think many people can relate to this. Once you start working and doing the same thing over and over and over, you don't really feel like you're moving forward. And the reason for that is because you've stopped learning. You stopped trying to grow your skills and your knowledge. And it wasn't until I started to read more books, to watch videos online, on YouTube, listen to podcasts, that I started to improve my knowledge, and following up on that, using that knowledge to improve on my skills. That's how I started to see growth. So you should never stop learning, and oftentimes once you actually start working, that's when a lot of people stop learning. So never forget that. Lesson number 4, seek discomfort. As human beings, we don't really like, feeling discomfort. I mean, I like to be comfortable all the time. But to actually grow, you need to do the hard things in life. I mean, think about a video game, right? You don't always want to be playing on level 1 because as you get stronger and stronger, you probably are going to want to move on to the next level to challenge yourself a little bit better, because doing that helps you grow, and hence that keeps the game fun. So in life as well, you want to always try to do things that's a little out of your comfort zone. Go ahead and practice that skill that you don't think you actually master. Go and apply for the job you don't think you're qualified for. Do things that you're not really comfortable with, because when you're too comfortable, it means that you're starting to stagnate. I mean, that's a huge reason why I started this YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not very confident on camera, but I'm doing this because it's uncomfortable and I can feel myself growing. My skills of presenting on the camera, speaking, organizing the information. So I'm really trying this thing out where I'm putting myself in uncomfortable situations so that I can continue to grow. Lesson number 5, embrace failure. Now, the thing about failure is that it's inevitable. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. So you may as well just kind of lean into it. And the best thing about failure is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you lost or anything, because when you fail, what you really gain is a lesson, right? You learn how not to do something, or you learn how to do something a little bit better. So in the future, you can be a lot more successful. So don't be afraid of failing. Lesson number 6 is to always be grateful. When you are in your 30s and you're hustling and bustling, trying to make better money, you're a career man or woman, oftentimes you get so caught up in this process of constantly pursuing more wealth that you forget to be grateful of what you already have. I realized that if you really want to be happy, if you really want to, continuously grow, you need to appreciate what you have right now. I know, a very cliche thing, but I think this needs to be reminded, because it's really the little things in life that you need to be grateful for. That way, once you start to improve and all that, you can look back and see how far you've come. Oftentimes, people get so caught up in everyday life that they forget to kind of just sit back and enjoy and appreciate what they already have. Lesson number 7, the secret to happiness is to manage your expectations. Now, this is the big one, because we live in a society where social media is a huge thing, right? So you're constantly comparing yourself with others, people who often portray themselves as a lot more successful than yourself. But you need to manage your expectations, because whatever you do in life, if you're expecting a certain outcome and it doesn't really work out that way, then you're just going to feel very disappointed. Managing your expectations means that you're going to focus on what you can control, right? You need to focus on what you can do and not really worry and compare yourself with another person's life, because at the end of the day, what you really need to focus on is yourself, because you don't really know what the perspective or the history of someone else is. So if you're constantly comparing stuff, if you're constantly expecting things to be different, then you're gonna set yourself for disappointment, and that's not really a fun way to live life. Lesson number 8 is to take responsibility. Now, in life, you're going to mess up a lot. I know that I messed up a lot, and unless you take responsibility for all your screw-ups, right, then you're never really going to improve. And oftentimes, when things go wrong, it's not even really your fault, but it is your responsibility duty to try to figure out how to overcome that problem. For example, maybe you're working in a job and you feel like, oh, I'm not really getting paid enough, and you start blaming, oh, my boss really sucks, the economy sucks, whatever it is. That's not really a good way to kind of get through it, because you need to take responsibility that, okay, things do suck, I'm not making enough money, but I need to take responsibility to see what I can do. Can you increase on your skills? Can you apply for another job? Can you start seeking more information? You need to take responsibility. That way you will actually start to pursue the paths that will help you out of that situation. Stop blaming others for what's going wrong. Lesson number 9. Find the joy in simplicity. Now, I'm a huge advocate that one should always live below their means, right? That's one of the secrets to actually living a life where you're very, very fulfilled, where you're able to be more financially successful. That's going to be a little later on this video, but you need to find the joy in simplicity, because the little things are really what matters, right? Spending time with loved ones, having that really, really simple meal, going out for a walk in the park, whatever it is, these little things, if you can find the joy in them, you're gonna find a lot more happiness. People often try to pursue the extreme in stuff, right? They feel that to be happy, they need to make sure they have this huge house, they eat all these fancy meals, go on these fancy vacations. But you need to understand that unless you can find happiness in the simple things, you're always going to want more. And in your 30s, it's extremely important that you start to understand that the simple things are what's important, and the simple things are what brings you a lot of happiness. Lesson number 10 is to always stay humble and be kind. Now, I work in the medical field and I'm very thankful for it, because it gives me the opportunity to be kind to people, right? Because I see, and this is just my perspective, there is a lot of suffering in the world. Everyone's always trying to outdo each other, and that's why it's so important that you kind of sit back, you stay humble, and you're kind to one another. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, so you do need to be kind with each other. And I really, really try to practice this on a daily basis, to be empathetic towards other people, because you don't really know what the other person is going through. I mean, you probably have a lot of things that you're going on yourself, but it's so easy to get caught up with your own things that you don't really care about anybody else. But if you want to move up in life, if you want to really grow, right? This is what this whole lesson thing is about, is that you need to make sure that you connect with others, you stay humble, remember where your roots are, because that's going to keep you progressing and not crashing and burning as you start to move up in the game of life. Now, the next 10 lessons are going to be on time and money. Oftentimes in your 30s, you're very career oriented, you're working on, getting that nice home, going on these nice vacations, investing. So time and money is important. So let's get into the 10 next lessons. Lesson number 11, money is not everything. Health is wealth. Now, I know this is a weird one to kind of start off this conversation, but understand this, that money isn't the first thing you should be focused on, because ultimately, if you're very, very rich, but you're not healthy, you're sick, then does it really, really matter? And I say this personally because I work in the medical field and I've seen countless people, right, who are 80, 90, really, really old, and they had a lot of money, but it doesn't really matter in the end, because all they really care about is whether they're healthy enough to actually enjoy it. So understand this, that yes, money can be important, it can feel like the most important thing, when you're in your 30s, but you need to make sure you take care of your health, because if you're not healthy, then nothing else really matters. Lesson number 12, being rich is not the same as being wealthy. Now, one thing that I learned very, very early on, before actually turning 30, is that you need to make sure that you prioritize investing, because oftentimes it's very easy to say like, oh, I'm making a good chunk of money, but that doesn't really mean anything, because if you make, say, $5,000 and you're spending $5,001, then you're never really going to be wealthy, right? You're just spending all your money. But you may say like, yeah, I'm pretty rich because I make $5,000. So what you need to understand is that the wealthy people, they learn how to invest. They learn how to own assets, because you need to make sure that the money that you're gaining is actually working for you. It's growing with time, because that's the only way you can actually reach a point where you can call yourself wealthy, where you don't really have to work in order to make money. And that leads me to lesson number 13, which is to live below your means. To be wealthy, you need to find a way where you're comfortable with spending less money than you feel that you should. Because how the world really runs is that whenever you get money, people are so tempted to spend it, to always spend it on things that they want, the new shiny objects. But when you keep doing this is what traps a lot of people in that whole rat race. They're not really able to escape it, because they need to make money to pay off the debt, they need to make money to buy the new fancy things. So you need to find a way to be comfortable and happy living below your means. To be happy owning that used car that's not really that good looking, to be comfortable in living in a place that's a little less fancy, just so you can actually use that extra income to invest, to grow your wealth. And everything comes down to you just simply being happy with what you have. If you're able to do this for a long period of time, say a decade or so, then you're gonna really set up yourself for once you turn 40, 50. But if you're just simply blowing all your cash right now, then in 10 years or so, you're not really going to be, going anywhere. You're going to be the same place where you are right now financially. So find a way to always live below your means. Lesson number 14, don't just work for money, work for freedom. I don't think a lot of people tend to think about this. Like, why do you really want money? Most people will often say like, yeah, I want money because I want to buy that new fancy car, I want to buy that new fancy home. But the real reason you actually want to work is so that you can gain freedom. Understand this, right? The whole reason a lot of us want a lot of money is so that way we can actually live a life where we don't have to do things we don't want to do. If we don't want to go to work, we can just say, I don't want to go to work. We want to spend time with our family. We don't have to take some time off, some PTO. You can just go spend time with your family. You need to find a way where that money that you're gaining is actually an asset, a tool for you to buy your freedom. That's why you need to learn how to invest. You need to know how to save. You need to always ground yourself. Why are you working so hard? Why are you making so much money? And the reason for that is because you're trying to buy freedom. So understand how to do that. Lesson number 15, cooking is a You see, a lot of time actually goes into grocery shopping, preparing the food, cleaning all the dishes. So what I found really helped me was that after the gym, I would go to the grocery store and I would just simply buy like a rotisserie chicken and some salad. And I would eat that for a few days and I would repeat the process. Now the cost of doing that, it might be a little bit more than just, cooking all your meals, but the time that you save, oh my goodness, it kind of changed my life really. Now let me be clear though, that I really do like cooking, but the thing is I don't do that every day of the week, right? I try to meal prep my food. I try to do it on the weekends, but on my day-to-day stuff when I'm really busy with work or whatnot, I try to make it a point to always buy pre-made food or to prepare things in advance so I don't have to spend so much time preparing the food, cleaning up, cooking, because all that time that's taken away from you could be used to do something else, to pursue your goals. While I am a fan of cooking, I try to understand that I don't do it as often because I'm trying to save time for myself. Lesson number 16 is to block out your time. Now whenever you're going through life, things can get pretty hectic, so unless you put aside time to accomplish something, it's never really going to be done. And how I like to approach it is I like to apply something called Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law is the fact that the time that it takes to accomplish any sort of task tends to shrink or expand depending on the time that you allocate towards it. So say you're trying to accomplish your taxes, right? You could tell yourself that I'm going to take a whole week to accomplish it. Then most likely it is going to take a whole week to accomplish it. But if you told yourself, hey, I'm going to only take 1 hour to accomplish my task, then now you're really going to focus your time and try to make that deadline, right? I think a lot of your experiences, in college, I know whenever I have to do any homework or submit any assignments, I'll give myself a lot of time until that last minute when I have like an hour or two left, I'll just rush everything and make sure that it is done. If you're trying to accomplish any task, simply set aside a time block and tell yourself you will accomplish it, and that's how you start to move forward and get done. Lesson number 17, specialize in something. How the world really works is a lot of the value, a lot of the money goes to the people who specialize in things. If you are a jack of all trades, if you you dip your feet in a little bit of everything, you're never really going to stand out. It is the people who specialize in stuff. It is the people who tell the world like, hey, I'm really good at this and this is why you should trust me. Those are the people we tend to flock to. I mean, just think about your daily life. Whenever you're going to the doctor, you probably want to go to a specialist. If you're learning from someone, you probably want to learn from someone who is an expert in that field, right? Learn to specialize in something, especially when it comes to your career or if you're learning any sort of skill. If you get really good at that, it's going to open way more opportunities than you learning and dipping your feet in a little bit of everything. At least that's what I learned, and that's what I wished I learned before turning 30. Lesson number 18, money is a tool. Money is not something that you should simply just hoard and just spend blindly, right? Money is a tool not just to invest and to spend on fun things. Money is a tool to buy convenience, to buy time, buy skills, buy education. Understand that money is a way for you to increase on your growth, right? I was someone who really struggled with money for a long time, right? I would constantly just hold on to it, never let it go, just save it and save it and save it, but it didn't really help me move forward at all. It wasn't until I started to use money more as a tool to actually buy courses to learn stuff, to buy convenience, right? So that I can save more time, that I started to see growth. So as you're making money in the game of life, try to put aside some of that money to improve on your skills, right? Buy some sort of course, buy some sort of lesson, go to something that can help you scale your income. Maybe buy something that is more convenient for you. For example, say you do a lot of work on the computer, and sure, it might be a little expensive to upgrade that computer, but if you upgraded it, now it'll be a lot more fun to work on that computer. It'll be a lot more efficient for you to do stuff. So think of it this way, right? If you use money right now to actually actually improve on your convenience, on your time, and it's going to help you way more than just simply hoarding it all and saving it and not using it for everything. Use it to increase and level up in the game of life. Lesson number 19, focus on adding value. How the world really runs is that it runs on people solving problems. When you give a lot of value, when you solve problems for people, people are going to pay you a lot of money, right? So you need to really focus on you as a person, all the skills that you're gaining, all the knowledge that you're gaining, right? How are you going to translate it into giving value to the world? How are you going to help other people? Because the more people you can help, the faster you can help them, the bigger problems you can solve, then people are going to start throwing money at you. And that's why you need to specialize in stuff. That's why you need to use money in order to buy skills, buy your time to do stuff, because essentially that's how you scale your income in life. Even for me, right? I'm making this YouTube video, like, sure, I like to share all the information out there, but I'm also making this for me, right? To practice presenting information, organizing stuff. This is a way for me to provide value while improving on my own value. And that's hopefully going to, create better opportunities for me in the future. And that there is lesson number 19. Lesson number 20 is time is money. Now, this should be a pretty obvious one, but I want to end with this, is that if you don't have a lot of money in life, you probably have more time on your side. But if you don't have a lot of time, then you obviously need to buy it off with money. This is the relationship you need to understand, right? Because if you're in a place right now where you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm kind of struggling financially or whatnot, then you need to ensure that the time that you have is used extremely wisely. Whereas on the other end, if you have a lot of money and you feel like you don't have enough time, then use money to accelerate how you're able to achieve stuff, to buy back time, right? And the best thing you can really do is you want to use both sides, right? You want to use money in order to buy yourself more time, but still use a lot of your time to actually do things and gain skills. That's how you're going to exponentially increase your growth in the game of life. If you're enjoying the video up to this point, go ahead and smash the like button, and better yet, let me know down in the comments below if there are any lessons that I missed or anything that you particularly like. If you were able to take even one lesson away from this video, I say that it was a success. So let's get back into the video. Alright, the last 10 lessons are going to be lessons on life in general. And starting it off with lesson number 21. Life is fragile. Now, I say this as a medical worker who has worked very, very closely with people who are extremely sick. And I've seen how fragile human life can be. Because oftentimes when we're in our 30s, in our 40s, we feel like we have a lot more time on our hands, but life is extremely unpredictable. Anything can happen at any time. I've seen 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds who, get in a car accident, get in a stroke, and they're so limited with what they can accomplish after those incidents. So understand that if you're healthy right now, if you have a sound mind, if you have the ability to actually do stuff, you're extremely fortunate. So never take that for granted. Lesson number 22, progress takes time. Progress takes a lot more time than you actually think. I know I started this YouTube video and I started investing in like 2021, and I was like, after a year, things are going to be great, I'm going to be successful. And now 2-3 years later, I feel like I'm still barely grazing the surface, right? There's just so much more to learn. I mean, there are YouTubers who are like 6-7 years in the game already and they're still progressing. Whatever it is that you're doing in life, understand that it takes a lot of time to progress. So whether it's your career, your relationship, your investments, understand that it takes a lot of time. So be patient and keep yourself busy so you can stay consistent and keep doing it. Lesson number 23, have a destination. Make sure you have very important goals set up. The reason for this is not really so you can hyper focus on achieving that goal. The reason you do this, the reason you have a destination is because as human beings, we need a why. We need a reason for why we're working so hard, why we're making so money, why we're doing the things we're doing. We need to have a destination so we can actually see the light of the end of the tunnel. A lot of people tend to just, cruise through life, just do the same thing over and over again on clockwork. I know I did this for a long time, and they feel lost. They feel very unfulfilled. And it wasn't until I set clear goals, I set a destination for myself, that the life got a lot more fun. So I highly recommend have a destination for where you're going. Lesson number 24, think long term. Now, the great successes in life, the great things in life happen after a long period of time. And I know this is pretty cliche to say, but try not to really think so short term, right? If you're trying to pick up on a skill, don't give up after like the first month. Even after a year, you might still be in that beginning stage. Sometimes things takes years to mature, right? Like investments takes years to mature. So always think long term and understand whatever you're doing right now, you're building the foundation. If you're 30 right now, set goals for when you're 40, when you're 50, and try to do the things again and again and repeat it. Enjoy the process, and that's how you're able to do something for the long term. Lesson number 25, embrace risk. I like to think that the opportunity to take risk is a privilege that not a lot of people have. So if you're young, in your 30s, you have a lot of opportunities to take risk. As you get older, that opportunities, they tend to diminish, right? Because we have our family, our health tends to wane, all these other things. So if you're really young right now, you need to understand that, hey, you have the opportunity to start investing more aggressively aggressively to make sure you chase that job or do the things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. You want to make sure that you do things that you're a little afraid of, right? Because there's always going to be a risk of failure. But understand that failing again isn't really you losing. Failing is simply you realizing that that wasn't the right way to do it. So you can do things a lot better in the future. So embrace risk, because to get any sort of significant reward in life, you need to make sure you take the appropriate amount of risk. Lesson number 26. Shit happens, and oftentimes it's not even your fault. Because when you go through the game of life, you could do everything right and things can still go wrong. So make sure you're not getting upset or frustrated when everything doesn't really work out the way it is. Because things go wrong all the time, and how I like to approach it is I like to say like, hey, can I control it or not? If I can't control it, then well, don't worry about it. If I can control it, I better do something about it. So I apply this on a daily basis, and I always remind myself that shit happens, and oftentimes it's not even anybody's fault. Things just happen, and accept it the way it is. Lesson number 27, focus on the present. I read a book called The Power of Now, an extremely powerful book really, on focusing on the present moment. Because a lot of people, what they tend to do is tend to focus on the past, they tend to focus on the future, but all those moments, they're not really real yet. They're abstract things, right? The more we focus on that, the less we tend to focus on what we can accomplish right now. And at the end of the day, what you really have control over is the present moment, right? What can you do right now? Can you improve on something? Can you plan? Can you learn? You need to make sure that you're not too distracted by what's happening tomorrow, or distracted by what you already, all the mistakes that you did in the past, so that way you can continue to progress. I have this mantra where I just try to remind myself 1% better, 1% better, because all you need to focus on is doing one thing a little bit better every single day, and in time, you will be exponentially better than when you are today. Lesson number 28, be your own best cheerleader. Now, spoiler alert, the majority of people in the world, they don't really care about you. The reason for that isn't because they're assholes or anything. The reason is because they are way too occupied with their own lives. There's just so many things we need to keep track of, to do, that human beings, we're already overwhelmed. So no one's really going to care about you. You need to be your own hype man, right? You need to tell yourself, hey, keep going, I believe in you, you're doing great, get up, you got this. You need to be your own best cheerleader, because if you don't do that, nobody's gonna do that for you. And a lot of people tend to wait for external validation, for people to tell them they're doing well, but you don't need to wait for that, because you can tell yourself that, and that's how you're going to keep on going despite how difficult life can be. Lesson number 29, a great partner is your greatest asset. I am very, very lucky to have an amazing wife who has helped me tremendously, in my happiness, gratitude, my financial journey. However, I do understand that a lot of people watching this video, you may not have a partner, and that's completely fine. What you need to understand is that to find a great partner, you need to be a better you. You need to focus on yourself, because what a great partner does is it helps accelerate and push your growth, right? Because it needs to complement yourself. If you're with someone who's constantly bringing you down, who's not really helping you, move forward in life, then you really need to either have a discussion with that person, or you need to consider, that maybe that person isn't right for you. Because a great partner is a great complement to you. A great partner helps you pursue your goals faster, supports you towards doing what you need to do. If you just pay attention to all the most successful people in the world, oftentimes they have a great partner backing them. So focus on yourself first, and a great person will appear eventually. And lastly, lesson number 30 is start a personal brand. Now, a huge reason why I started this channel, and in fact, I actually wish I started this channel way earlier before I turned 30, is that we live in an age right now where we're in the information age, the internet age. So unless you're putting out information online, then nobody's really going to know about who you are, your expertise, what you're capable of. So it's going to limit the opportunities you can achieve. So this can be extremely scary. I know for me, I'm more of an introvert. I know it may not seem like this, but I've been practicing for like 2-3 years already. I'm not someone who's very good on camera, and I'm someone who is, a little more reserved, but I understood the importance of it, that unless I put myself out there, nobody's gonna know that, I have all this medical expertise, I've been constantly on this self-improvement journey, I'm seeking financial freedom. These are things that I'm interested in. So if you're starting your own personal brand, start off by just making short little videos. It doesn't have to be this long YouTube video. It can be really short clips, right? On YouTube Shorts or Instagram or whatever. Or you can even write like a little blog post, or write it on Threads or on X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it right now. I find that you need to use the internet as a tool to exponentially accelerate how you grow in life, right? You need to document your journey. You need people to know what you're capable of, what you're interested in, because there are billions of people in the world. There will be some people that can relate to you, and if you can help them, you're now giving value to the world. As we all know, giving value to the world means you're going to bring more opportunities for yourself. So if you haven't yet already, I highly recommend just start a personal brand. You don't have to be good or anything. Just do it consistently, and in time you will get better at it. So that's about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe to this channel for more, and check out this video over here on more content just like this. My name is 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝘀, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Take care. Peace.